Just when you thought things couldn't get worse for Florida State, they get worser. This season has been an absolute nightmare for Florida State. You can understand losing to Georgia Tech and Boston College, but losing to Memphis, a team from the G5 and Doak Campbell Stadium, is completely unacceptable. They lost 20-12, and from how this game played out, you would have thought that Memphis was the better team. And Florida State's offense is completely broken. Like, you got to bench DJ Uiagalelei. I don't know how much money you gave him when it came to NIL to incentivize him to come to Florida State, but you just got to take the L. And like an OG used to tell me, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You just got to take your L and accept the fact that DJU just scammed you. This dude is not a good quarterback. He was never a good quarterback at Oregon State. And I'm not surprised that FSU is as bad as what they are, because this team lacks heart. They lack soul. When you watch Florida State play, you see a lot of individuals. You don't see a team. You don't see the team that you saw last year. And that's the downside of utilizing the transfer portal. When you got guys that don't have no skin in the game with your program, that don't have no blood, sweat, and tears, they're just playing for your squad because they view playing for you as an opportunity more than they view it as a blessing. And that's what you see out of Florida State. Like, you don't see no physicality. Guys are missing tackles. Guys are undisciplined. You can't block nobody. You can't open up holes in the run game. Like, I don't even know if Florida State has had a single game this season when they've gone over 100 yards rushing. Like, I thought I was watching Colorado out there with how bad they looked against Memphis. I mean, the coaching staff is absolutely terrible. And for all the people that keep saying, like, Mark Norvell has to go, he's not going anywhere. You're stuck with this dude for at least the next 2 years because you just gave him an extension earlier this year to keep him from going to Alabama. Maybe you should have just let him go on to Alabama. Let him been their problem. Like, Mike Norvell is not going to get fired. Like, his buyout is way too high. You just gave him a fresh extension. So you just have to deal with it. And you just have to accept the fact that this team is going to be bad. It's not even no use complaining about it anymore. This is what you are. There's not a single game on your schedule I think you can win at this point. Like, you're going up against Cal. I got Cal on the left side of me right now. They're struggling to beat San Diego State. It's 7-3 right now in the third quarter. I don't even know if you can win that game with how inept you look offensively. Like, DJU looks like Daniel Jones out there. Like, I don't know what Florida State saw in DJU that made them think, man, like, he would be a great replacement for one of the best quarterbacks we've had in program history. Like, this dude is an absolute abomination playing quarterback for the Florida State Seminoles. And even though I'm a Miami Hurricane fan, I still got respect for FSU as a program. I respect their tradition. I respect their history. Hell, Jameis Winston is my favorite football player of all time. I love famous Jameis. You feel me? So I've always had a lot of respect for the tradition of Florida State football. But right now, with them looking to get out of the ACC because they feel like they're above the ACC, you don't look like you should be leaving the ACC, because if you were playing in the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big 10, you probably could be getting blown out every single week. Like, this team looks awful. And I would have loved for you to play an FCS squad, because I don't even think you could be an FCS team right now. I don't even think that you're the best team in Tallahassee. Like, I believe that if FAMU were to play Florida State right now, FAMU would kick Florida State's ass. They would. Like, Florida State is a bad football team. They can't do anything right. Anything right at all. Like, this is the season from hell for Florida State. Like, if you're an FSU fan, this is what I would do if I was you. I would take all my FSU merch, I would hang it up in the closet, and not put it on until next season. Like, if you're a Florida State fan, I don't even know how you can come outside and say, yeah, I'm a fan of the Florida State Seminoles with how bad you've looked these first 3 weeks into this season. Like, I don't even know how you can say you're a Florida State fan with pride. You feel me? And it's like Florida State has had some down years. Like, I remember the Willie Taggart era. And a lot of people always keep coming at me saying, oh, JT, like, Willie Taggart wasn't given a fair shot. They fired him before he needed to go. Like, a few years ago when Willie Taggart was at Florida State, I was going to therapy sessions, right? And the therapist that I had in that time actually graduated from Florida State. And he was on Florida State's alumni. You know, he was part of the people that donate to the program to help hire coaches, to help guys get fired, donate to the NIL back. And even though they didn't have it at that time, but, you know, like, going into Willie Taggart's final season, my therapist at the time told me that, you know, he has a thin leash. You know, he's running on sacred time. And he put it just like that. And he said that the donors already had a feeling that it wasn't going to work out. And after they lost their week 1 opener to Boise State, like, they kind of already made the call. They put the money in to get Willie Taggart fired because they knew he was a terrible hire. But Mark Norvell inherited a different Florida State program than what Willie Taggart did. When Willie Taggart took over FSU, yeah, Jimbo Fisher kind of messed up with how he didn't recruit the offensive line how he was supposed to, but Florida State was still recruiting at a top 5, top 10 level. Willie Taggart didn't inherit a program that was in need of a rebuild. They just need a little bit of a spark. You know, year 1 wasn't going to go pretty. You understood that. But year 2, you expected for Florida State to improve, and they didn't do that under Willie Taggart. And from talking to a lot of people that kind of have a little bit of a relationship with Willie, and they were close to that situation down there, they said that Willie Taggart's fatal flaw when he was the head coach at Florida State is that he thought that a blue blood program like FSU was going to run itself. Now, I don't know what they mean when they say that, but I guess when they say that, in my estimation, they're trying to say that he didn't put in enough work to have success at a school like Florida State. He thought since he coaches at Florida State, you can just tell people, bro, this is Florida State. Why wouldn't you want to play for us? And, you know, the program would just run itself, and it didn't work out that way. Mike Norvell, when he took over Florida State, this was a program that under-recruited. They weren't that talented. But one thing that you can't take away from Mike Norvell is that Florida State, his first 3 years, they improved. You know, year 1, they weren't good. Year 2, they still weren't that good, but they won more games what they did his first season. And year 3, they went undefeated, won the ACC championship. It was the best season they had since the Jameis Winston era ended. And I can't tell you how bad things are going to get for Florida State this year because I don't even know if you are even going to win 5 games this year. Like, you being a bowl-eligible team, just throw that out the window. At this point, you're fighting to even get the 3 wins. And, you know, like, we may be watching Florida versus Florida State on Tubi, for all I know, because these are 2 of the worst programs in the state of Florida right now. And it's embarrassing. And what's really kind of frustrating to me is how I keep seeing a lot of people on X ask, how are Florida State and Florida this bad when they have access to all this talent in Florida? And the reason why I get frustrated when people ask that question is because it's pretty common sense, or it's pretty much common sense, why Florida State and FSU struggle to keep in-state talent. It's because they're not that good. They don't give in-state recruits a reason to want to play for them. If I am a 5-star recruit and I'm in the South Florida area, why would I want to play for Florida State, Florida, Miami, when I could go out of state, play for Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State, a school that I know I can have a chance at winning a national championship with, and a school that I can go to that I can trust to help develop me to play on Sundays? You can't say the same thing for Florida State and Florida. You go to those programs, your talent's going to get wasted, which is why Florida and FSU are not that good. Just because you're in Florida and you get a bunch of Florida players doesn't always mean they're guaranteed to be good. You got to be able to coach them up. And some of those Florida players, like Jerry Jeudy, would have went to Miami or FSU in Florida, he might not have been a first-round pick. So, for me, if Florida State and Florida want to be able to get some of the better talent in the state, they got to step their game up. And if you're losing to Memphis, that's not going to help recruiting at all. And this season does your recruiting a huge detriment because you just had this great season. And you've made progress your first 3 years being Mike Norvell. But for you to be as bad as what you are this season, it kind of wipes away what you've done your first 3 seasons, because now recruits are going to be like, damn, like they were so good last year and now all of a sudden they're garbage. I expect a lot of decommits to come FSU's way. It's not going to be too hard to flip some of their better recruits that they have committed to them right now verbally. And I just see this season getting even uglier for Florida State just because you can't do anything offensively. Like you're struggling to get the 20 points. If you can't get the 20 points in this day and age of college football, your offense is broken. And if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm going ahead and I'm firing my coaching staff right now. It's not even no point. Nothing's going to change. And I love Mike Norvell. I love when he gets on the microphone, he gets on the podium. I love the way he speaks, but you can't keep saying, man, you know, we got to do a lot of soul searching out there. You know, we got to find ourselves. We got to find out who we are. Like, we're entering week 4 of the 2024 college football season. You don't want to hear, oh, we got to soul search. We got to figure out who we are when we're right into the midst of the college football season. You can say that in week 1, maybe week 2, but, you know, we're nearing the midway point. And you just are what you are right now, which is a crappy football team that can't do anything. Like, if I really believe that if FAMU played Florida State right now, they would smack them. It may not be a blowout, but I would take FAMU to win by at least 10 points. Because, I mean, Florida State looks like they have no talent on that team at all. They look like they should be playing in a MAC for how they've played these first 3 weeks of this year. It's utterly embarrassing. Like, if you're a Florida State fan, like, go hide. Because when you play Miami, best believe I'm going to be talking. And I'm going to be talking a lot of crap to y'all. And y'all not going to have anything to come back with it. You can talk about how down Miami's been in the past, but this is 2024. It's not 2023, 2022 anymore. You know, like, what you are is a crappy football team that has a crappy quarterback, a crappy offensive line. You got good running backs, but your offensive line can't open up any holes for them. It's just, everything is just completely off for Florida State this year. It's like, I kind of don't even get why FSU fans keep complaining anymore. You should expect your team to look this bad every game you play this year. That's the reality you have to live with if you're a Florida State Seminoles fan. You can't be surprised with you struggling to beat Boston College and Memphis anymore, because you just aren't a good team. So when you play Cal, you play SMU, if you lose those games, don't be surprised. If anything, be surprised if you're able to win those games. You know, because I mean, you're fighting a different battle right now. There's a legit chance that you don't win a game this year. Honestly. And I wish I was joking right now, but I'm not. I'm being dead serious right now. Go on Florida State's schedule and tell me one team that Florida State could beat, and you're confident they will win that game. I don't even think they could beat Florida. Even with Billy Napier being the head coach, I don't think they could win that game. At least Billy Napier's offenses can somewhat score 20 points. Your offense is struggling to get to 14 points. I mean, this is just a season from hell for Florida State football this year. I don't even know what to say. I was not expecting them to be this bad. I at least thought they would be an 8-9 win team.